Hello, and welcome to the Building B2B, Getting Back to the Top of the Funnel webinar. Thank you to those who are joining me live today, and thank you to those in the future who have downloaded this presentation. I'm Gyerman, the Director of Channel Strategy at IKEA Communications. We are a full service agency that believes for every business challenge, there is a communication solution. If you have any questions, please insert them into the chat, or you can email them to us at b2b@ikea.com. Let's get things started. Retirement, a marathon, and gardening. What do these things have in common? They all represent a future benefit only achievable through planning and continuous effort. As early as our 20s, when our careers are just taking off, we start investing in our 401ks and retirement funds. If you've ever run a marathon or thought about running a marathon or have no desire to ever run a marathon, you know you can't walk out fresh with no training to the starting line and expect to come out on top. Gardening. There's a process and steps and a life cycle to plants. You have to plant the seed if you want the tomato to grow. The same is true for B2B marketing. Our market is home to some of the longest buying cycles, months, years, even decades. Yet many of us spend the bulk of our marketing efforts and budget on bottom funnel tactics. Why is this the case? Well, the simple answer is the short-term payoff. It's easy to see the impact. We bring sales and marketing together, and we send out some emails, we create sales materials, presentations, and we get a sale. But even though we do this over and over again, it seems to get more challenging and we're not seeing consistent results. There's a few reasons for this. For one, the landscape has changed. Technology has transformed what used to be a human-to-human or sales-to-buyer interaction of information exchange to be readily available through digital channels. In fact, 67% of the journey is done digitally, and buyers can be up to 70% of their way through it by the time they connect with sales. So naturally, sales has become more focused here, and they should be. Sales teams are in their rightful place at the bottom of the funnel so they can close the deal. But where does that leave marketing? Our findings indicate that marketing is spending most of their time alongside sales in those bottom funnel efforts, creating toolkits, sell sheets, one-pagers, sales presentations. This is all good stuff. It's necessary. We need it. And marketing can certainly help, but who's manning the top of the funnel? It can't be sales. We need them at the bottom to close the deal. But if our sole focus remains here, marketing becomes a function of sales, and we fall into this strange cycle I call the cul-de-sac of chaos. In the cul-de-sac of chaos, there's always a sense of urgency, the feeling we're chasing someone we don't know much about, stress that we don't have the tools and resources we need, while we're all in this mad dash to get over the finish line. And then we repeat this cycle again and again. Once we fall into that cul-de-sac of chaos, we begin to lose our ability to see what's happening on the outside. We don't see the bigger picture, the space, the long-term journey buyers are making to get to purchase. So today, we'll talk about how to get out of this and the role marketing must play. Now, if you're able to make sense of these numbers, you're either a member of Mensa or somehow you got a hold of this presentation. For the rest of you, I'm going to break them down. So first, we've got 80. 80% of your share price is based on cash flows 10 years out. We know market values businesses on their future cash flows. Okay. 95. 95% of your buyers are not in the market to purchase. I'm going to say that again. 95% of your buyers are not in the market to purchase. So all of that effort we put into bottom funnel marketing only reaches 5% of our potential audience. 5%. To grow a brand, you need to advertise to those people who aren't in the market now, so when they enter, your brand is the one they're familiar with. Yet just 8% of marketing budgets are dedicated to those top funnel efforts. This next 8 represents 8 years. In 8 years, get ready for this, the last of the baby boomers will reach retirement age. These long-standing relationships that began in a non-digital era are shrinking. These buyers are on their way out. And at the top of the funnel is a new digital generation starting their journey. And every year that slice of that audience pie gets bigger and bigger. We need to go to the top of the funnel to greet them and usher them towards our brand through brand marketing. And the B2B Institute recognizes this too, which is why they're projecting brands will start allocating 51% of their marketing budgets to brand marketing. And this is where we as marketers need to be. So why the shift? Why not put more into what we're doing? Well, because a sole focus on low funnel marketing inhibits growth. Lead generation tactics are narrow. Remember, more buyers are out of the market than there are in. For example, if only 20 accounts are looking to buy a payroll software, over the next 3 years, there could be 200. Your competitors may or may not be trying to connect with the 200, but you're definitely fighting with them over those 20. And whoever courted those 20 accounts to this point will carry the advantage. It is very difficult to reroute a lead already in your competitor's orbit. It's doable. It's just going to take more effort. It's going to cost more, and it's going to send your team into that cul-de-sac of chaos. Here's why this happens. Sales is typically compensated, as we know, on a quarterly basis, and this encourages short-term thinking and a hyper focus on bottom funnel marketing. We see a lot of spend on events, sales collateral, targeted account-based marketing. And when the leads don't come in at the rate we need them to, we put out a call for more content and lead gen campaigns. But it doesn't matter how magnificent, how much talent, how much money you spend. You can create the next Nike campaign. You're still going to hit your head on that B2B concrete ceiling because only 5% of your audience is in the market to purchase. 5%. You can't win a marathon without training, and you can't make an audience purchase something they're years away from needing. You can keep a focus on and live quarter to quarter as long as you commit and think about that 3, 5, 10-year time horizon your buyer needs to make long-term decisions. So let's take a look at what this looks like, what your buyer is going through. Now, at the top of the funnel, we have awareness, but awareness is often mistaken for availability. We don't want people to just have heard of our brand, that's awareness. We want people to think of our brand in an actual buying situation. This is mental availability. Awareness is helpful, but what we really want is situational awareness. Situational awareness is the result of brand marketing. Here's an example. So I'm at the grocery store and I'm staring at a shelf of 20 hot sauce brands. I'm aware that they all exist, but I only consider buying Frank's Red Hot or Sriracha. I know that all 20 brands are physically available, but only those 2 are mentally available to me because of brand marketing. So how can you tell where you stand? Do you have situational awareness? The conversations your sales teams are having with prospects is going to give you the answer. Through brand marketing, situational awareness starts at the beginning and it stays with that buyer through the journey. We know at about 70% of their way through, they're going to meet sales, which takes us to the bottom of the funnel. So if at this point you're hearing things like, we have very little awareness with this audience, we're not well known in this category, we need lead gen tactics, We need to create the why us story. Then you have not achieved situational awareness. And herein lies the problem. The buyer has already completed 70% of the journey. They are in a buying situation, and our product, our service, our brand is not on their mind. So we have a lot of work to do, and we need to do it fast. We launch lead gen efforts, and we build those toolkits for the sales team because they're confident with the fact that if we can just get them in front of a buyer, they're going to close the deal. We're at the bottom of the funnel, the final steps of the buyer journey, and we're trying to do all of these things that happen at the top. We're trying to pull this buyer into our orbit who may already be in a competitor with situational awareness, perhaps, a competitor that buyer thought of when they had a need. That's a tough meeting, even for a top salesperson. Situational awareness it's like a gravitational pull. It's a longer effort, but it lets you claim a lane in the journey from the very beginning. And as the buyer moves through the journey, they're connected to our brand. We are going to be in their minds as a potential solution. We're being researched, considered, and evaluated. So we have them now in our orbit. And when they're in our orbit, it becomes difficult for a competitor to pull them out. And again, anyone who's been having a sole focus on the bottom funnel can attest to this. A continued focus on creating the situational awareness at the top of the funnel paves the lane for buyers to come to us. The more buyers in our orbit, the greater the prospect stream, the stronger the lead. And when these buyers get to the bottom of the funnel, they're thinking, I have a problem, I know who you are, and I think you can solve it. That sounds like a much better meeting to be in. So situational awareness comes from brand marketing, but what are some of the other benefits? Well, one, there's category awareness. Top of funnel is where we market ourselves to the entire category. Mid to bottom is when we start to segment, because remember, there are more buyers out of the market than in, and this is where we get to reach that 95%. Number two, sales. Brand marketing, it will increase short-term sales because we're much more likely to buy from a brand we know and like, but the future sales is where you're really going to see the most impact. Remember, lead gen only influences the 5% ready to buy. Three, profitability. Famous B2B brands can charge higher prices. Increasing sales 1% will increase profits 3%. Increasing pricing 1% can increase profits 10%. Talent acquisition. Employees are 58% more likely to respond to recruiters after seeing a brand message first. People want to work for famous brands, no surprise. Would you rather work for Forrester Research or Fred's Research Shop? It's a no-brainer. And the last, number 5, is category options. Categories are mortal. Eventually, every category shrinks, whether it's because of the demand, the industry, or maybe the audience. But brands can be immortal. Well-known brands can leave one category and enter a new one. For example, Microsoft pivoted from Windows to cloud using the same brand and same trust equity they established with IT departments worldwide. PayPal, another one. They started as a preferred payment method to process payments for eBay, but they developed their brand and a product that could stand on its own. eBay has gradually faded, but PayPal's still here. It's expanded into the world of banking alternatives. Play-Doh started as a wall cleaner in the 1930s to clean coal soot, but the rise of gas heating caused a decline in demand. So they searched for a new revenue stream and found a teacher using the product for arts and crafts. Same product, but a new use. Still around today. So what makes B2B brand marketing a success? When we think of brand marketing, it's hard to stop the flood of brands that immediately come to mind. Nike, Apple, McDonald's, Amazon. These brands are known on a global scale. They have international footprints. I mean, there's a McDonald's at the foot of the Spanish Steps in Rome. Despite their world-renowned notoriety, though, they still invest in brand marketing. I know what you're thinking. We think it too. It's a trap. B2B is not the same as B2C. Well, I'm here to tell you we need to publicly denounce that belief. Strategically speaking, there is no difference between B2B and B2C marketing. There's a difference in tactics, but the fundamental rules are the same. Good marketing increases mental availability. Good marketing reaches every buyer in the category. Well-branded creative that captures attention will generate sales. And most sales will occur in the future. You can accept or ignore them, but these are the rules. B2B advertising is often rational over emotional, but why? We don't become different people when we get to work. We're still normal people with the same brain, the same emotional triggers. You might even say that a B2B buyer is going to be more emotionally engaged than B2C because the stakes are so much higher. There's greater risk, higher costs, more financial impact if the wrong decision's made. So why would we remove emotion? On top of that, we know technology and digital have, they've made the buying process easier, but at the expense of human interaction. Sales used to be the face of the company, but now most of our story is told through non-human touch points to people who are prone to distraction, threatened by information overload, and vulnerable to memory lapse. Product marketing, which we reserve for bottom funnel, can be dull because we're focusing on features and benefits, but brand marketing at the top needs emotion. So when you think about this, it's important to keep in mind what those category entry points are. What are people thinking? What are they feeling or doing when they start to think about your product category? And that is what we need to speak to build the mental availability. So an example of that could be a payroll software company. You might ask, why would someone start to think about buying payroll software? What is happening at work or with them when this is starting to occur? A way to maybe address that is, it's late Friday afternoon and everybody else is having drinks. Why are you still trying to run a payroll on an old system full of bugs? That is going to give you the emotional connection. That's going to give you the connection to that audience. We need to have emotion in our messaging. An effective narrative is built around the buyer, not you. Defining your narrative is one of the most critical components of marketing. We spend a lot of time creating, reshaping, trying to simplify our message during those bottom funnel moments. And those messages often sound like, I'm going to use plastic for an example. We're the category leader in plastic. We're the thought leader in creating plastic solutions. We're the premier supplier of plastic containers. We're the industry leading plastic producer. Aside from the obvious that there's zero emotion in these statements, there's some other reasons this messaging is going to be ineffective. For one, everybody uses them. These claims have become cannibalized. It's like the endorsement stream at the end of Talladega Nights, where every brand is making their claim as the official, whatever, insert the product name of NASCAR. And after you hear a few of these, that claim begins to lose its effectiveness. Second, they don't fully articulate what you do. It's a crowded market with a long and complex buying process. These statements don't distinguish you from your competitor. Creative storytelling and a distinct brand identity do. And this is how we break through the noise and clutter of product marketing. Don't mistake your brand objective as your narrative. What's more persuasive? premier cloud-based software company with leading technologies and add-on applications. I'm just going to stop because this doesn't even make sense. Or we bring customers and companies together. That's Salesforce, by the way. Third, these statements tether you to a category, or even more narrowly, a product level. Positioning is what we want buyers to think when they think of our brand. People purchase products from a brand. The goal is that they know we exist and are able to think 2 to 3 things about us. And fourth, these are some strong statements to back up. If you're going to make them, you better make sure that you have a solid POV, deep experience, and proof points on that topic. But then there's also no need to make them if they're true. Nike delivers innovative products, experiences, and services to inspire athletes. They don't mention they're also the world's largest footwear company. If these statements are being used to explain who you are to a buyer when they're at the bottom of the funnel, chances are you aren't there yet. The buyer would have already formed this perception. Again, situational awareness. We have to be prepared to commit. Bottom funnel efforts can result with new messages and campaigns on a quarterly basis. For a buyer journey that spans several years, sometimes decades, that's a lot of different messages to throw at your audience, or rather audiences. We know there's multiple decision makers and influencers involved in B2B purchasing, and they don't enter or move through the journey together. C-suite, legal, IT, engineering, finance, they all might play a role at different points of the journey, but they're not moving through it simultaneously. So regardless of when they enter or exit, it's critical that they receive a consistent message and consistent exposure to your brand. You have to commit to consistent and continuous media integrations. And this is why we have to have the narrative right, so that it can stand the test of time and become the foundation for long-running campaigns. Back in the 90s, MasterCard had a perception problem. They were losing business to Visa, and they needed to create demand from banks by building perceptions with the public. So 1997, they launched the famous Priceless campaign, and it still exists today. Coca-Cola has run the same Christmas ad for 25 years. Both of these brands are so well known. They're part of our cultural DNA, yet they continue to invest in brand marketing. Amazon's everywhere. It's practically becoming a verb, but yet they're the largest advertiser in history. Brand marketing registers over time. It takes years and consistent investment to break through. The B2B brand that gets remembered is the B2B brand that gets bought. So the degree of effort you put into top funnel marketing shapes the success rate of future B2B sales. As long as you continue to spend the majority of your budget to reach just 5% of your audience, your cost per acquisition is going to be through the roof. We have to flip this. We have to have a longer term mindset if we want to connect with the entire category. Marketing teams need to move up the funnel and lead this effort. Again, it's okay to keep a focus on quarter to quarter. We want to be there for the sales teams. We want to continue to provide support, but as long as we also commit to the long-term brand marketing. This is how we get that situational awareness, which is what gives us that gravitational pull to our buyer. And once they're in our orbit, it's very difficult for the competitor to pull them out. Through that effective narrative and commitment to long-term marketing, we have the ability to influence at scale. Remember, even the most well-known consumer brands continue to invest in brand marketing. Accepting those same strategic marketing fundamentals, we can do this too. The B2B marketing team that achieves this first will not only outpace your competition, they're going to set the new standard in pioneering the next era of B2B marketing. Thank you for listening and your time. Again, if you have questions or want to talk further about getting back to the top of the funnel, email us at b2b@ikea.com. Thank you.